look at all that money, yeah, the money that they spend. Take another look now and take some time for hemp. Don't cut trees for paper, cause it hurts the environment. Stop deforestation, yeah, it's time for hemp. Oh, an acre of hemp makes 20 barrels of oil. No need for pesticides to poison all our soil. People got no food, they got no clothes, they got no rent. Well, right now it's time for hemp.
Thank you for taking Time for Hemp. I am your host, Casper Leitch. You are listening to Time for Hemp on Mondays. Healthy Mondays. We like to put a spotlight on the amazing group Patients Out of Time, founded by Lynn, Mathre, and Byrnes. Also want to say thank you to KDK Distributors for being nice enough to give us a grant to keep us loud, proud, and strong. Yes, it is Healthy Mondays, and with that said, I will pass the conversation off to my joint host here on the big broadcast on Time for Hemp.
Casper, thank you again for inviting Patients Out of Time to be with you on Healthy Mondays. It's always been rewarding, and today, folks, will be as well. I'd like to remind you that Patients Out of Time is an educational charity. We were founded almost 20 years ago, and our mission is to educate healthcare professionals in the United States, specifically medical doctors and registered nurses, pharmacists, social workers, etc., but also the U.S. public. And 20 years ago, when we started on this mission, the U.S. public, about 15%, maybe 20% of the U.S. public thought that medical cannabis was a good idea. Now 85% do, at least 85, maybe more. Now, we're not going to take credit for all of that, but we'll take credit for some of it. But the real credit goes to the myriads of people, the scientists and doctors and patients all over the world who have led this charge to get this plant reinstated to our American pharmacopoeia. Remember, it was in our pharmacopoeia for forever and only removed in 1941. You can find information about Patients Out of Time at www.medicalcannabis.com. There you'll find a direct link to the University of California School of Medicine in San Francisco. And on that link, doctors, nurses, etc., can take accredited courses. The courses available at the School of Medicine there run about 12 CMEs, which is a lot. There is a fee, but it's reasonable. On www.themedicalcannabisinstitute.org, healthcare professionals can take accredited courses. These are much shorter. These run 45 minutes to an hour, and of course the credits that are supplied are less, usually about 1 or 1.5. There is a fee, again, very reasonable. Themedicalcannabisinstitute.org is worldwide internet e-learning. That internet action is carried out by representatives of our company in 17 countries and will soon be translated into 6 different languages. Patients Out of Time is going above and beyond its mandate of educating the U.S., and we're going to try and educate the world, and we think it's worth it. One of the ways we educate people is that we bring on this show cannabis experts from around the world, usually highly trained professionals, and today we have one of the same. We have today with us from the state of Florida, a medical doctor, Ann Morgan. Hi, Ann.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Well, we're very happy to have you. Now, we like full disclosure here, Ann, on this show, so I'm going to tell everybody that you and I are involved in a for-profit venture in the state of Washington called Veterans for Compassionate Care, as is Mary Lynn. We're all in this up to our necks with it, and we want to be. Ann is the medical director of that venture. Mary Lynn will be the director of education, and I'm the CEO. So without out of that way, we will likely talk about Veterans for Compassionate Care during the show. And I don't think that's out of line, Ann. We have many, many people on this show who have their own private businesses, and we let them talk about it. And the reason we let them talk about it is because it has something to do with medical cannabis, and that actually is our subject, as you know. So here's the way we go, Ann. We start off with a puff question. We ask you to tell us a little bit about yourself, where you're from, you're married, you went into medical school, why, you got into cannabis, how come?
Okay, well, first of all, I'm a native Floridian, one of the few in my age group, but one of the few Floridians, and that's why I endeavored to work so hard to try to get the amendment passed here in Florida. Starting back early on as a young person, my dad was a doctor, so I felt more natural in the healthcare field. But I first got a nursing degree, and then I went from nursing into medicine. It seemed like the next step. And I became a diplomate in the American Academy of Family Practice. And I have a license in Florida and also in Pennsylvania, the great state of Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. Sorry that I trained in Pennsylvania. And let's see. So I've been in Florida for quite a few years. Divorced with a 22-year-old son. For quite some time, I was medical director for United Healthcare of South Florida, and then Humana, and then most recently with Metropolitan Health. So I've gone back and forth from administrative medicine and into private clinical practice. Each time I go back and I want to fine-tune my clinical skills. But so how did I come to learning about cannabis medicine was, quite frankly, I was busy working and read that the amendment is coming up, and I knew nothing about it. I thought to myself, whoa, wait a minute. I didn't know anything about this. It was time for me to educate myself, so I started reading online and doing my late-night searches, and one of the most important things I found was the Patients at a Time conference was coming up this past April. And so I took it upon myself to fly all the way from Fort Lauderdale to Portland, and which is diagonally across the country, but that's where the information was. And so that's where I met Mary Lynn and many of the guest speakers out there, these doctors that had been doing and involved and in clinical medicine for treatment and therapeutics of patients. And here I am on the East Coast, and I didn't know anything. And then when I found out about the endocannabinoid system, which was, to me, the newest thing since we're no longer in the Milky Way galaxy, then I said, wow, this is something that every doctor, every nurse, every healthcare person should know about, because we know about the musculoskeletal system, we know about the cardiovascular system, we know about the endocrine system. That's all that's all we learned in basic sciences in medical school. But since the endocannabinoid system wasn't around at that time, it was around, but we didn't know about it, it behooved me and my colleagues to learn more about it. So my curiosity was piqued on my way to Portland, and at Portland is where it became, let's say it was heightened, because without having learned when I did, it didn't gel for me. I had to figure out for myself where it fit into my field of medicine. And so I went further from there. I was invited to the International Cannabis Research Society in Italy about a month later, and I went out there and met the top research scientists in the world. Excuse me. And then I found out that this was their 24th annual conference, or annual symposium. So all this information is out there, and I don't know why the American medical system and the American medical doctors, except just like me, we were just naive and not paying attention. But I think it's more to it. It has to do with the fact that we are still, big pharma driven, and big pharma is the ones that are basically educating the physicians in the United States. So finding this whole new system in our bodies is, to me, like, taking a walk on the moon. It's like so enormously gratifying that I've got something that finally answers the question that we've all asked: why don't we have something in our bodies that'll help us heal ourselves? And now we have the answers. Now it's up to us to learn about it, to spread the information out, and to get these laws changed and end the prohibition. And that's pretty much how I feel about it. I think the evidence is overwhelming. The responses to treatments is overwhelming. And I'm really excited about the fact that I think since the first time since the inception of the FDA, we will now be allowed to do clinical therapeutics, not just in vivo, but in vitro without FDA approval. So that's really exciting to me, because that means when I go to work with the Veterans for Compassionate Care and create treatment plans and treatment programs, I don't have to have FDA approval. And as we all know, FDA approval does not mean that you're getting the right pharmacokinetics. I mean, look at some of the drugs they've approved that people have died from. So this is important information, important research still going on. At the same time, we can do our clinical work. So I'm excited.
Good. I've often wondered that too, what you mentioned about the ICRS going into, what'd you say, 24th, 25th year, and Patients at a Time being officially founded in 1995, but really we all came together in a sort of an ad hoc fashion in 1990. So we've been around a quarter of a century as a bunch too, and we've been talking about this all this time, and the science has been out there. Certainly folks like John Getman and his lawsuits, and Normal and their lawsuits, and ASA and their lawsuits, and our educational effort has put the word out. And I've been mystified myself about why medical doctors and registered nurses aren't more curious about this. Do you have any other clue besides Big Pharma?
Well, I do believe that since we are all like knee-jerk reflexive, like Pavlovian dogs, hate to say it, but when we see a patient in our offices, I mean, we're ready to get out that prescription pad. And, that prescription pad means Big Pharma. And so I, as a clinician, I don't like writing for prescriptions. I don't want to learn about all the new drugs, because I don't want to start my patients on new drugs that really haven't been, proven. So, look at Vioxx. How many, close to 5,000 people died from Vioxx. So, thankfully, I've only written for one prescription in Vioxx in my life, and that patient was okay. But I think with the medical field, if they're not on the west coast of the United States, then it's a whole different ball of wax. We are driven by the northeastern corridor, what we call, the brain area, the northeastern corridor. And those folks, if it's not in their armamentarium, which it has not been, then it has not been really looked into. There's so much going on in their own world, like in mine as well in Florida, that there really was no impetus, or my curiosity wasn't even piqued, because it didn't get filtered down into my daily reading. It didn't show up in my medical journals, and it certainly wasn't being talked to about, amongst my colleagues. I don't even allow pharmaceutical reps, in my office anymore, and I don't use any advertising for them, put their posters up and things like that. But most of the doctors still today are being detailed about new drugs by the pharmaceutical reps. Even if even though the federal laws got away from kickbacks and all that, if you've been detailed on one drug against another continuously by the same rep, then that's going to be the one you're going to write your prescription for. But I will say that I was, even in my own little community here, I'm a member of the Palm Beach County Medical Society, and they have a medical marijuana task force, and I was not on it, but I was invited to join, and it was by a group of doctors that are interested in cannabis as medicine, because I saw the amendment coming down the pipeline, and if it didn't get passed, and sadly it didn't, but there will be legislation in which it will, that these are concerned physicians. But interestingly, what I found out, which dismayed me, when I asked that we make, because we're going to make recommendations to the Department of Health, who will be the ones administering medical cannabis when it comes in Florida, I had asked, can we request that any doctor, when they get their license renewed, complete a 2-hour CME course on the endocannabinoid system, now that we have information on it? That should be included in our continuing education requirements for relicensure, like we do for HIV and domestic violence. And they told me under no circumstances would the Florida Medical Association, of which there's 22,000 doctors, would they approve that? I said, why not? This is new research, new information about our bodies, our patients. And they said, listen, we had so much pushback when we were trying to teach them about HIV. They said, oh, we don't have HIV patients in our practices. We don't want to learn about it. So it's not just Big Pharma. it's stonewalling and reluctance to learn new things. And that's disturbing in a clinical world. Sorry to say.
Oh, yeah.
It's disturbing. Yeah.
That's pretty scary, really. That. Wow. Well, as you know, we're going to take a break here in a minute, Ann, but as you know, but I'm going to remind the folks, Dr. Morgan operates in Florida, on the east coast of Florida, very, very close to where our next clinical conference is going to be held. And that's going to be the 9th National Clinical Conference on Cannabis Therapeutics. It will be held on May 21, 22, and 23 in West Palm Beach, Florida, at the Palm Beach County Convention Center, which is a really neat building. Wow, it's really neat. We have an international faculty that will include Dr. Meshulam from Israel, who I have called and everybody now calls, and it's the right word to say to him. He is the grandfather of medical cannabis. He definitely is. In 1964, his research in his laboratory in Jerusalem found THC, the only intoxicant compound in the plant. And since then, his laboratory has produced amazing research, most of which we always try to focus on, at least to some degree, in our conferences. And this year, we're going to hear from Dr. Meshulam himself, so that's a real treat. Along with Dr. Meshulam, we've just got confirmation. We talked just the other day to Dr. Lester Grinspoon. Lester Grinspoon is, of course, most famous for beginning, I think, the re-evaluation of cannabis as a medicine with his wonderful book called Marijuana Reconsidered. And if you want to learn about the history and where all this started, you look up Marijuana Reconsidered by Dr. Lester Grinspoon. He's a Harvard professor and has stayed with this issue for a long time. Back in the 70s, that book was published. And Dr. Grinspoon is going to be another one of our honored keynote speakers in May in Florida. So I know you're going to be there, Ann. And the other thing I want to stress before we go on break is that particular conference is going to be the early part of Memorial Day weekend, which of course goes through Monday. So we're starting the conference on Thursday with some pre-conference workshops. These will be specialty educational programs, accredited, I would think, in all cases. Certainly it's accredited for nurses. It will be accredited for attorneys, and I suspect also medical doctors, and we're still waiting on the pharmacists. But there'll be workshops that will sort of bring any doctor, any nurse, et cetera, up to speed, if you will, with the right terminology. And as Dr. Morgan said, what is the endocannabinoid system in any way, and what's it good for? That kind of thing, before one enters the plenary sessions, which we have on the Friday and Saturday. But my point again is that this entire conference will stress veteran issues and the way that we may or may not be treating veterans appropriately now and into the future. And again, when Dr. Morgan and I come back with Mary Lynn, we're going to talk about Veterans for Compassionate Care and how cannabis will play a key role in the treatment of our wounded veterans. Casper?
You are listening to the Time for Hemp Global Broadcasting Network. Please share us with your friends.
THCF Medical Clinics are the premier physicians clinic in the United States. THCF has offices all across the United States from Hawaii to Michigan. THCF Medical Clinics has helped approximately 150,000 patients obtain their medical marijuana permits to legally possess, grow, and use medical marijuana. If you have chronic pain, multiple sclerosis, or any other neurological degenerative disease, or if you have any gastrointestinal disorders such as GERD, irritable bowel syndrome, or if you have AIDS, cancer, spastic disorders, seizure disorders, or glaucoma, call us at 1-800-723-0188 or visit us online at hemp.org. Again, the number is 1-800-723-0188. And the site is hemp.org.
Yes, live your life one day at a time. Don't rush it. Don't borrow your problems and worries from tomorrow. Just like, if you got a bill due in 2 days or you got a court appearance in a week, we'll prepare for it. And, go out and earn the money. But for gosh sake, don't sit and ponder on the problems of tomorrow today. Because you're just going to eat up all the good time of being productive and enjoying the love and the joy around you that you can experience just by living in the moment. And for gosh sakes, we do want to learn from what we've done yesterday, because I'm sure all of us have done things yesterday or last week or last month that we can learn from. But once you've learned your lesson, again, don't ponder. Enjoy the moment that you are living in now. This is your life. Show up. Be part of it. Be productive. And by all means, let the whole world know that it is time for hemp. With that said, I pass this joint conversation back to our joint host here on the Big Joint broadcast on Time for Hemp.
Casper,
Hi
I do
there.
think that's the philosophical. I was just saying to Casper, I think it's the most philosophical introduction he's ever given Patients at a Time. Thank you, Casper. Folks, we're back with Patients at a Time, www.medicalcannabis.com. And we're talking today with Dr. Ann Morgan, a medical doctor in Florida, long-time practice, both as an administrative physician and a practicing clinical physician. And as I mentioned at the beginning of the show, Ann and I both are very, very interested in seeing a company called Veterans for Compassionate Care, located in Spokane, Washington, to get off the ground and get moving. I'm going to let Dr. Morgan explain what our protocol, our medical protocol is there. Ann, your show.
Okay, well, I just want to start with, I like those words, once you've learned your lessons, don't ponder and live your life. And I just want to add to that, which is, as a clinician, as a citizen of the United States, when I found out that the U.S. government held the patent for the idea of medical cannabis since, when is it, 2002, Al? So the fact that the government...
11 years something, yeah, anyway, yeah.
I offer anybody to go through their search engines who hasn't read this, because I just found out about it this year, but the fact that the U.S. government has held the patent, it's a 26-page patent on the fact that they know that cannabis works as a neuroprotectant, which means protecting your brain, as an antioxidant, that it works in Alzheimer's and it works in Parkinson's disease. The fact that that is a patent owned by the government, which means owned by us, you and me, and then they still maintain it as a Schedule I drug is the worst irony of all. And why do I say that? I say that because as you look around, and as I learned as a doctor, to me, those people, the most unfortunate, the most deserving of the people that need this medicine are not permitted to do it because of state-by-state laws and also because of the classification as a Schedule I drug. A Schedule I drug, by definition, says it has no medicinal value. So you can't have both. You can't have it having no medicinal value, and you can't own the patent and say the patent has medicinal value. So it's a travesty. So when I started researching and learning about what this amazing plant can do in our nervous systems, then I started reading about the work that has been done and is continuing to be done and will be done with veterans. Right now, the suicide rate for veterans is, by the U.S. Veteran Affairs Department, they say it's 22 per day, but I would suggest that that's a low number because there's also death by vehicle for life insurance policies and things like that. There are no currently approved drugs even being made by Big Pharma or by any pharmaceutical companies that can treat post-traumatic stress disorder. The drugs that they are used in a cocktail way, add-on effect, like if this one's not working, try this one. And sadly, it's coming into like a perfect storm of a bad outcome, and that's why so many people are getting in the weeds. It's causing opiate addictions, it's causing severe depressions, it's causing issues with domestic violence, it's causing breakups in families. So when I started looking about this, I said, wait a minute, well, let me see what the cannabis work has done. There's research out there that shows, and we're going to be doing the same thing at VFCC with the opiate reduction programs, but there's studies that have shown that if you give somebody that's highly addicted to opiates or any morphine or opium product, that if you give them cannabis, even if you do not ask them to reduce their intake of opiates, and if you do not ask them to engage into some form of behavioral therapy, but just by virtue of the fact of taking the cannabis alone, And this is a CBD THC product. Don't get me wrong. This is not straight CBD. We're not talking about pediatrics here. It's a very high THC program. But what happens is it interferes and basically blocks some of the receptor sites and accepts the cannabis in substitution for the need for the opiates. So automatically, we will see a reduction in the use of opiates. And when you see the reduction in use of opiates, a lot of the depressions, a lot of the strange behaviors can be ameliorated, and then you can start working with fear extinctions, which is fear extinctions and flashbacks and a lot of these terrible things that the soldiers have to endure, and also people of domestic violence and things like that. But anybody with the post-traumatic stress disorder, they have trouble with fear extinctions. There are no medications currently available. So what we hope to do is to make the cannabis available to the veterans both in whole plant and in extracts so that they can start reducing their need for opiates, and they will. They can realize that they're feeling better. Some of the changes that they'll be feeling are mood alterations as well because of the THC component, but the CBD component, there's all kinds of new studies out there showing how it can actually improve any damages to your brain that's happened as a result of trauma or a device going off next to your head and some of the terrible things that happen with traumatic brain injury. So the combination of therapy, restorative therapies, as well as the combined whole plant and extracts for the use of opiate addictions and for other things like chronic pain and some of the other disorders that the veterans have will be immensely helpful to them in their lives. And the fact that we now have research that shows that we can create new pathways in the brain, I think is the final piece of the puzzle, so to speak, in working with opiate reduction, post-traumatic stress disorder, TBI, because now we can offer these people hope that they can relearn new ways, recircuiting the brain, similar to what people have had to do after strokes, that they had to learn new pathways. But it's amazing new science called neuroplasticity. And that, to me, is so exciting that we're going to be able to do that and make it affordable and available to the veterans starting out in Washington.
Yeah, and as you mentioned, I mean, it's just so obvious, a big lie. As you mentioned, at least one of the patents refers to cannabis as a neuroprotectant, a substance that protects the brain, for instance. And then what we're saying is, yes, therefore it's good for TBI, traumatic brain injury. It's good for concussions. It's good for all sorts of brain injuries because it's a neuroprotectant, and even the government says it's a neuroprotectant. So, I don't know what you got to do to tell people, hey, it's a neuroprotectant. I work in, and you will meet this fella too. His name is Riley Cote. He's an ex-NHL hockey player. He still is active in that professional sport as a coach. And Riley has had 3 of his friends, hockey players, pro hockey players, die by suicide from the pain of injury and the pharmaceutical alcohol combination they use to treat that pain. And Riley Cote and I have been trying to tell the NHL for a couple of years now that you need to pay attention to the use of cannabis for head injury because it's a neuroprotectant, and most important, it's an anti-inflammatory, right?
That's correct. And, I look forward to very shortly in the near future, not just myself, but we've discussed also that working with the NFL, which is a big industry, as you know, but the fact that they had their own actuarial people come out, I think it was like 2 months ago in the Wall Street Journal, where they admitted, because of the 5,000 member class action suit against the NFL by the NFL former and current players, to address the traumatic brain injury issue. I truly do look forward, since we're in Seattle and we've got recreational and medical approval on the state level, that perhaps we can address that and create some protocols so that immediately upon injury, that if we can get cannabis to the injured players, that would enormously improve their outcomes. And there are studies that are already out there, one of which is coming out of Israel from Dr. Meshulam. But and I think ultimately there will be, and I don't have a crystal ball, but ultimately there will be treatment protocols everywhere in the country. First it'll start at the NFL level, but then it's going to have to go down into the schools. If we're going to allow our kids to play football, and now, you know, of course you're talking hockey too, but I'm from Florida. We're a football state. But I'm just saying that there will be no way, if it's permitted in the state and it's licensed, the state allows for medicinal purposes, and the fact that the NFL has come out and admitted that 1 out of 3 NFL players that are currently active players will have TBI in the future, then it is incumbent, now that they've admitted that, it's incumbent for them to look for therapeutics. That's the next step.
Yeah. And I couldn't agree with you more. And I was a hockey player and a baseball player in high school, and then I played football and rugby in college, and I took my share of hits in the head. And I completely agree with you. Cannabis is a good anti-inflammatory. It's excellent for head injury, big or small head injury, minor concussion. Give that patient at that point cannabis. And I'm all the way down to Pee Wee League. I mean, I'm not going to say, well, cannabis is going to hurt some boy of 7 to give it to him as a medicine. Certainly the good would far outdo any harm, and I couldn't figure out what the harm would be anyway. But
harm is going to cause more harm.
Yeah. We did, folks, have a presentation in our 2012 conference in Tucson, Arizona, by one of the assistant ministers of health from the country of Israel. And his presentation, I'll just give it a synopsis of it, but it seemed to me it was around 3 dozen Israeli military personnel. They were both men and women, mostly men, however, my recollection. They had head injuries from really bad to pretty bad. And they were given a cannabis product, and I'm sorry, I don't know what it was, but they were given a product on the battlefield by their corpsman, by their medic. And they all seem to have a much better recovery rate than the Israeli doctors were used to looking at injury for injury, trying to do that kind of comparison. So the bottom line from the Israeli Minister of Health and the Minister of Defense, whatever they call themselves, was that they wanted more of this treatment for their soldiers. And as I understand it now, soldiers in Canada and Czechoslovakia, at a minimum, are treated with cannabis for head injuries. So, again, this is the United States denying reality. And Ann, you know, I've said this before, though, I really think to get out of this mess, it's the doctors and nurses of this country that need to stand up now. The patients certainly have.
Well, I know we need to stand up and take a commercial break and pay our bills so that we can keep our little program on the air. Don't forget, we are no longer just one voice in the wind. We are a group of people who are coming together under one roof to let the whole world know that it really is time for hemp. Listening to the Time for Hemp Global Broadcasting Network. Please share us with your friends.
Serious Seeds is your source for quality cannabis and sativa seeds. Serious Seeds are the creators of legendary strains like AK-47, Bubblegum, Chronic, Cali Mist, and White Russian. The AK-47 is probably the most awarded strain on the planet. The high THC content of AK-47 makes it the perfect medical strain for patients seeking quick pain relief. Cali Mist is an almost pure sativa. Female medical cannabis patients have reported that this strain helps relieve menstrual cramps. Serious Seeds just acquired another Dutch high-quality seed bank, Magus Genetics. From now on, Serious Seeds can offer you even more award-winning strains. The fine folks at Serious Seeds strive to breed the best cannabis genetics that they can find, so patients can rely on the effectiveness of their medicine. Go to SeriousSeeds.com to grow your medicine. That site again is SeriousSeeds.com.
Yes, stay alert with consciousness. Don't, require to be babysat by our government. Take care of your own responsibilities. If it says on the side of a bottle when you go to the pharmacist, be careful how you use this medication. Do not drive heavy equipment until you know how it affects you. Well, that's true with not just that prescription, but with medical marijuana, or with eating too many Hershey bars, or drinking too many cups of coffee. Until you know how something's going to affect you, you need to be responsible when you use it, and that's what we encourage you to do. I am a medical marijuana card carrying person here in the state of Oregon. Washington, D.C. now has medical marijuana and soon recreational marijuana. And that makes it easy then for all the doctors to prescribe to our congressmen and congresswomen to use medical marijuana. And when you get your prescription filled, I suggest if you are a member of Congress or the member of Senate, you get your medical marijuana in the form of enema or a suppository. Just saying, I pass my conversation back to my joint host here at Time for Hemp.
Thank you, Casper. Very nice of you. I'd like to remind folks that Dr. Morgan, who we're talking to today, is a Florida physician, as well as going to work. We're all going to work together in the state of Washington. And by the way, the program that Dr. Morgan sketched out for us all is easy. I mean, not easy in the sense that it's not easy to do it, but the process, the idea, the medical protocol with proper training, with the right staff, can be moved to any state, any territory, any place there's veterans, and probably should be. So anybody out there that wants information about what we're doing, who we are, why we're doing what we're doing, just look at www.veteransforcompassionatecare.org and follow up with us. We need help. I'm a veteran, Mary Lynn's a veteran, Casper's a veteran. There's a lot of us out there, and right now, for instance, I'm a resident of Florida, and by using cannabis as a medicine in Florida for injuries that I can trace back to Vietnam, I'm a criminal. I'm a criminal. You'll put me in jail. I'm a felon. If I lived in Maine, you'd say thank you for your service and buy me a beer. There's something wrong with this. So I don't know if that disturbs you. I mean, you're not a veteran. You might not give a damn. But it certainly disturbs me. And there's about 22 million of us out here in the United States, and we tried our best. Some of us did real well. Some of us just did okay, but it really doesn't matter. They all tried. So whatever you think about a veteran, whatever you think about the war they might have fought, whether you're appreciative of that particular policy or not, has nothing to do with the grunt or the sailor or the airman. Nothing. Nothing at all. And, when we talk about veteran trauma, we as veterans instantly understand There's trauma out there with our police forces, with our firemen, with our EMTs, with nurses and doctors that work in ERs, ambulance drivers. I mean, think of the things that people do for you that you don't want to do. Well, they take a beating for that, emotionally, physically, all kinds of ways. And to deny them any kind of comfort is beyond my understanding of principles at all. I know there's ignorance out there. I get that. And I've said over and over again, and I'll say it to you all out there, listen to me, I just don't know what to do with stupid. And this is stupid. So, Ann, I got to get off my rant here, or I'll start swearing or something, and everybody will get mad at me. But what about Florida? Now, I mean, I think that there are some courageous legislative people down there. Marilyn, help me out with the names.
Jeff Clemens.
These guys. They're gonna get up again, are they not? And say, hey, the public voted 58% for this bill, even though some guy from Nevada spent millions and millions of dollars to put out a bunch of lies. Whatever his name was. By the way, if I knew his name, I would say his name. But the man that spent all that money in Nevada to defeat Amendment 2 is a liar about medical cannabis. He's a liar. Come after me. You're a liar.
Well, I forget his name, and it's probably better that we don't use his name because let's not give him any more credence. But my understanding is that his wife owns rehab centers, and rehab centers they're still offshoots of the whole opiate thing. So quite a few of the doctors here in Florida that deal with pain, and we have that big thing that happened here in Florida before with pain control and pain pill mills and stuff. So now it's legal to go to anesthesiologists, as most of them are. And you get your 30-day supply, and you have to pay for your urine test, and insurance usually doesn't pay for it. So it's a whole cash business here, and then these people end up in rehab, and rehab can cost upwards of close to $30,000. So the gentleman from Las Vegas that put the money into it, I venture to say there was, a secondary gain, which is to keep his centers open. If you're not addicted to opiates, then you don't have to go to rehab, right?
Al, you must be on mute because we can't hear your response, but I can certainly tell you that I got off of just nicotine using medical marijuana, and I've had people say around me that they've gotten off of pharmaceuticals and they've gotten off of other horrible addictive drugs by the use of medical marijuana as their substitute and then becoming their drug, i.e. herb of choice.
Well, I do know in Florida, it's true. It required a 60% approval by the voters in order to make it a constitutional amendment. Not 50% or not 51%, but it required 60%, which is kind of odd. But that's the way, and that was not made just for that amendment. That's the way it required. In order to do a constitutional amendment in the state of Florida, it requires 60% of the voters. So that's just something that they added quite some time ago because they didn't like bills getting pushed through. But yes, Jeff Clemens is probably going to be the one in Florida, and I hope to stand beside him when it happens, that they do approve medical cannabis with doctors supporting it. And I'm hoping that all the doctors that I know of, and I'm reaching out to as many as I can, will show up and attend and save the date for Memorial Weekend 2015 for the Patients Out of Time, because that's where I got my inspiration from.
Right, and we've got Greg Gerdeman, who's been on this show, a PhD at Eckerd College in Florida, is going to give a presentation. His specialty is how cannabis works with the brain, different aspects of that. Dr. Juan Sanchez Ramos, University of South Florida's Director of Movement Disorders, who has been a past director of Patients at a Time, will present, again, he is a neuroscientist, a neurosurgeon, neuro everything. He's just an expert. And the man also has an amazing skill at having brain animation on the screen to help you understand the complexity of the endocannabinoid system interaction with all of this. it just boggles me when I watch this fellow operate. He's a great guy, Dr. Sanchez Ramos. So, there's going to be Florida folks there, but we're going to have people coming in from Europe. They'll be all over the United States, East Coast, middle of the country. Canada will be represented. There'll be doctors, there'll be nurses, there'll be patients. We will have a panel of veterans that will feature mainly Florida vets. We will have a luminary there. Will be not a luminary, an active, actual, in the trenches, been there forever, a nurse, Alice O'Leary, who was with her husband, Bob Randall, were the first folks that got cannabis as a medicine issued to them by the United States government. An issuance that still goes on today to 4 of my board of directors and patients at a time, by the way. That's another story. But anyway, we're going to be loaded up with real talent from around the country, from around the world. The whole discussion will be about the medical uses of cannabis. Again, we will focus on veteran issues, including TBI, phantom pain, post-traumatic stress. There will be a panel there of professional athletes. I have Riley Cote, as I mentioned before, coming from the NHL. A member of our board of advisors is an ex-world-class female snowboarder. Greta Gaines will be on the panel. We'll have a representative from the NFL and another surprise or two. Who knows? Plus, you get me. I'm the moderator, and I'm worth listening to. They tell me every once in a while. What do you think, man? So
has been and will be the moderator, keeping us on task.
Yeah, I got to be in the World Book of Records on that one. Anyway, how many medical cannabis things have you ever moderated? And listen, we're going to have to shut this down here pretty quick. But again, my thanks to you and the work that you've done and what we're going to do together in the future. And is there anything you'd like to, put out about anything in the next minute or so?
Oh, thank you. I appreciate, first of all, you allowing me the opportunity to talk. But I'd like to challenge anybody that's listening that when they go to their doctor, nurse practitioner, their physician expander, whoever their healthcare professional is, anywhere in the United States, I want you to ask them, what do you know about the endocannabinoid system? Do you know that it is our own body's way of creating homeostasis or creating normal rhythms and normal emotions and helping ourselves heal ourselves? And if your clinician, whoever that person is, does not know, then you must challenge them to learn it and learn it now. We cannot wait any longer. Our veterans can't wait any longer, and the elderly can't wait any longer. So that's my challenge to y'all. Thank you.
Thank you, Ann, and we'll talk soon. And for folks, again, Patients at a Time, we'll be here next Monday. You can also find us on Time for Hemp on Sundays at 1 p.m. East Coast time, just as we have been here today. On Sundays, we talk to patients and their caregivers. And on Mondays, as you can tell, we talk to cannabis experts from around the world. So, www.medicalcannabis.com. This is Al Byrne for Patients at a Time. Take care.
And I want to remind people that you can find our customized app for your cell phone that you can use if you have Android through Google Play. It's free to download. And coming soon, you'll be able to find us in the Apple iTunes Store, another app there for the Apple phone that you can also download and listen to our live 24 hours a day, 7 days a week programming. And you can also find past segments of our shows there on the app. Share it with your friends. We have about 40 hosts on this network who are working diligently to end prohibition, and we are doing what we can to educate the world about the tragedy of these failed policies, and all we ask is that you share us with your friends. With that said, remember, the next time you hear me, you'll know that it's time for hemp.
Look at all that money, yeah, the money that they spent. Take another look and spend some time for hemp. Don't cut trees for paper, 'cause it hurts the environment. Stop deforestation, yes, it's time for hemp. Whoa, 20 barrels of oil. No need for pesticides to poison all our soil. People got no food, they got no clothes, they got no rent. Well, time for help! Yeah.
Oh, oh, dee, oh, da, lay. Oh, dee, oh, da, lo. Hey, oh, da, lay. Hey, oh, da, lay. Hey, oh, da, lay. My sweetheart drove. My sweetheart drove. Why did you go? Now I'm all alone, my sweetheart drove. Oh, I still love you, dear, but now you've gone away. How I wished I had you here, smell your sweet bouquet. Well, some men fall for women, and some men, they like wine. But I'm only half the man, unless I'm getting high. My sweetheart drove. My sweetheart drove. If I only had a boat, I wouldn't be so